I'm Donovan, but you can call me Don, and this is my dad.
Hi, I'm Dean, and welcome to
Talkin Hoops.
Okay, so we're on, I think, episode 5? 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is episode 5. And I guess if you've been watching, which I hope you are, we've been kind of going through our top 5, I guess, positions, so to speak. We started with our point guard, we went to our small forward, our shooting guard, and now we're on our small forward. Our list is actually the top 5 modern.
Yeah, so our lists are going to be comprised of players playing right now, but not strictly based on this season.
Yeah.
So it'll be more, we'll have more to go on, and so we can have an easier time judging them.
Definitely. Alright. So before we get into our list, I guess, of top 5, there's I think a lot of guys that we could probably, that people might want or think that they should be on the list. It's interesting because for me, I was kind of looking at some of the players and looking at some stats or whatever, and I noticed that there's some guys on the small forward list that could actually be on the shooting guard list too. Which I was like, oh, okay. Like I think Jimmy Butler is one of them that's on the small forward, but he could actually be on the 2 guard list, depending on what team I guess he plays for.
Yeah, I think on the Bulls he's been playing shooting guard, but after all the other teams he's been on, I think he got moved to small forward.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting, but he definitely could be one you could put on the list. I would probably put him on the shooting guard list. I think the interesting about the shooting guard and a small forward position is they're kind of interchangeable.
Yeah.
I think the biggest difference between the small forward and the shooting guard is maybe height, maybe?
Just a couple inches though.
Yeah.
Maybe small forwards are a little more athletic, I think.
Yeah, possibly. Because, I mean, you look at like when Scotty and Mike played, you know, Michael Jordan, of course everybody knows, he was probably arguably the best 2 guard or shooting guard to play. And then you had Scotty on the wing, on the opposite wing at small forward. So it's a very interesting dynamic. And of course, with that comes the point forward. And like that's something that's been like recently, I guess, or in the more recent years, is kind of what they've evolved into, so to speak.
Most of the best players are going to be your bigger guys who can dribble the ball but are usually definitely pretty athletic or
Yeah, that's what I've noticed. I mean, if you look in the past, like Magic Johnson could have been considered more of a point forward as opposed to a point guard, but he strictly played point guard. He never played anything but. Well, there's a time where he probably played center when they needed him or whatever, but for the most part, majority of his career he played point guard, which is kind of interesting. But you're gonna notice that there's gonna be some point forwards on this list, even though they're, you know, like I said, considered small forward or whatever. Some of the other guys, Danny Green, Harrison Barnes, you know, Aaron Gordon. Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum. Like these are all like super really good small forwards that might make some other people's lists. But even with how good they are, they didn't make mine. So we're getting to our top 5. You want to start our top 5 today?
Sure. Ironically enough, my 5th is Jason Tatum.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the way he plays, he's one of the better scorers in the NBA today. I saw right before the breakout and the pandemic or whatever, Jason Tatum was averaging 30 points per game during like the month of February, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So he was definitely breaking out this season, and you could just see how much of a great scorer he was becoming. Like kind of James Harden-esque, I guess, is kind of the level of scoring ability you could compare him to. And defensively, he was also pretty damn good.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was hard for me to put him on the list only because I feel like because I'm a Celtics fan, everyone's gonna be like, yeah, the only reason why you put him on the list is because he's a Celtics fan. But you give good. I mean, there's a lot of good points where you have why you put him on. He's definitely one. But Tatum is a good one to have at number 5. He was my number 6 actually. He was just out of the top 5. I couldn't squeeze him into that 5. But I'm sure that when you hear my number 5, a lot of people might not agree with my number 5. Which I understand if you don't agree with my number 5. But my number 5 is Chris Middleton. And I see, I look at your face, and the only reason why, one of the reasons why I have him at number 5 is because of what he does bring to the table as well. He's a good shooter. He's a pretty decent defender. Playing alongside Giannis, they're one of the top teams they're the top team in the NBA. Not just like the top team in the East, they're the top team in the NBA wins-wise. Chris Middleton has a lot to do with where they are. And I feel like he might not get as much respect as he should. I mean, playing on a team with Giannis, it must be hard because you gotta find your place, right? And I think he's slowly finding his place and figuring it out. So that's why I feel like he should be on my list at number 5. Now, granted, if you look at our list, a lot of the guys we're gonna be looking at what they bring, not only like stats wise, but like what they bring to the team, defensively, rebound wise, all the other things that they bring to the table is very important to me for a list of top 5, because you can't just, to me, I don't know if stats don't always give you everything that the player brings to the table, I feel. And that's just me personally, and it seems as though you might feel the same way. So that's kind of why I feel that way with the list that I have and the top 5 that I have. So my 5, Chris Middleton.
Oh wow. I mean, I don't know if I don't have him in my list, but I guess you can probably, a lot of people should consider him to put him in their list just because of the impact he has on the team, being the Robin to Giannis' Batman.
And he was an all-star this year too, so
yeah,
so
can't go wrong with that pick. So my number 4 is Paul George.
Oh, okay.
He's one of the best two-way players of this generation. Like, along with like Klay Thompson, Kawhi Leonard. As a small forward, he's a good scorer and a good defender, basically giving you 100% on both ends of the floor. A lot of people put him down because of especially this year with the Clippers, the load management thing that they've got going on.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of taking a toll on his reputation. But the impact that he's had on the Indiana Pacers, the Thunder for the past few years, and the Clippers teams this year,
yeah.
can't deny it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that. He's on my list too. He's not at my number 4, but I understand why you put him on the list. Like you said, for very similar reasons, I have him on the list as well. But you look at you figure what he was doing in Indiana, he didn't really have anybody by his side, so to speak, to help him out, and he carried them most of the way before he left.
Finals 1 year.
Yeah, and that's amazing to be able to do that. I mean, he had a lot of decent role players, but nobody really big. So he basically carried them on his back. When he went to the Thunder, he had Westbrook. I don't know if they just couldn't fit, and then they brought Melo in, and that trio just kind of didn't work. But you look at what the work that he's doing over there at the Clippers in LA now. Like you said, the load management, I think that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves, the load management thing. I understand that they want to make sure these stars have longevity. They want to make sure that they're going to have this franchise player for years to come, which I get. But the load management thing, I think, is kind of disappoints me, because that's what people pay money to go and see these guys play, And I think they should take into consideration the fact that the millions of dollars that they're making is coming from the pockets of the people who are going to the games, and they deserve to see them play. It's very disappointing if you go to a game and the guys you paid to see aren't on the court, But that's a good pick at number 4. and I can see why. Like I said, and we'll talk about him a little bit later when I unveil him, I guess you could say. My number 4 is Luka Doncic.
Okay. Oh yeah, you said you were gonna put him on your list. This
Yeah,
week.
and so with him, I look at him as a point forward. Some people look at him point guard, shooting guard, whatever the case may be. But you look at the way he plays. Luka is arguably the best 20-year-old, I feel, in the game today because he's so well-rounded. He's not a super good defender. He's an alright on-ball defender. But when it comes to playing the game correctly, Luka can play the game correctly, and then he can score. And so that's what amazes me about the way he plays, and to be at such a young age, to be able to be doing what he's doing. Because you look at, I think a good way you can look at him and compare him to some of these other stars of the past. If you look at Kobe Bryant, when Kobe Bryant first came into the league as a rookie, he wasn't starting. Yeah, it took him a few years before he got his legs on, and then but once he got it, then he took off, right? Kevin Garnett, in the beginning, he was doing all right, but he wasn't the star. He wasn't the star they expected until a few years into his career. And a lot of these guys, when they come in, it takes them some time to really take off. There's very few that come in the league as a rookie and just blow up and become like a star right away. LeBron James being one of them, you know what I mean? But Luka came into the league as a rookie. We talked about it a little bit the last time, how because of growing up playing as a 15-year-old against men in Europe, it really advanced his game. I think arguably one of the best passers. Like, he's such a good passer. When you watch him on the court, the way he plays, he can see the court very, very well. And he always sees the open man. I think that's important for a point forward with the skills that he has. So that's why I got him at my number 4.
Yeah. As much as he is a scorer on the court, he's definitely unselfish, which makes him such an all-around offensive player, and which makes him one of the most dangerous scorers in the league.
Yeah,
So it's crazy.
yeah. So that's why I got him at number 4.
Okay. So, my number 3 is Kawhi Leonard.
Okay.
I know that Kawhi and Paul George are on the same team, so technically they play different positions this season, but his whole career, pretty sure, his whole career he's played small forward, so is Paul George, so I consider him a small forward. And Kawhi Leonard, besides Paul George, not besides Paul George, but along with Paul George, is the best backcourt duo in the league. Or not backcourt duo, but two-way duo in the league, because Kawhi Leonard being the best at what he does, the claw, he's one of the better defensive players, and his offense is just as good as his defense. And Paul George is an amazing sidekick. Well, not sidekick. I use that a lot, don't I? Sidekick.
Well, I mean that's kind of how people kind of look at them. But instead of, I think a good way to kind of a good reference, instead of, I think a lot of people say Batman and Robin, and I think that's unfair to the Robin character, because in Batman and Robin is more of the helper, whereas I think it's more like Superman and Batman. Like, it's two of the main guys together to put the team on their backs and make sure that they can get to where they want to go. I think, as we was talking earlier, again, load management.
Yeah.
The Clippers, I know the Clippers are being smart. They were gonna make sure that Kawhi and Paul George don't get hurt, so when the playoffs come around, they were gonna really wanna do work. So I can understand why they would do that. Kawhi at number 3 is interesting, because I think arguably he is the best two-way player in the game. Arguably, I think he's the best two-way player in the game.
I think he is.
Yeah.
The best.
Because the reason why I feel that way is because he can score on anybody, anywhere on the court. It doesn't matter where. And now, there's plenty guys who can catch and shoot and are good defenders. But catching and shooting, is so different than taking somebody one-on-one or taking somebody down on the block, taking somebody to the block, like whatever it is. He can score on anybody, anywhere on the floor. It doesn't have to be just a three-pointers. It doesn't have to be just under the basket, posting up. He can score on anybody at any time. And he's arguably the best mid-range shooter in the game. And he uses that shot all the time, right? And that's, yeah, I mean, he's such a good mid-range shooter. So that's a good number 3. My number 3 is Paul George.
Okay.
Yeah. And then probably for some of the same reasons that you said, I think Paul George deserves to be on any list because there's weeks that he's the best player in the league. You know, and to me, there's very few players in the league that can be the best player of the week. Because, you know, like there's moments where some of them are the best player of the week, and then they, like we all know, there's slumps and ups and downs throughout a career, right? So they might have a week where they're not scoring 30 every game or 20 something every game, and not getting as many assists or whatever. But for a few weeks throughout the season, they're the best player that week. You know what I mean? And he's definitely one of those guys, arguably one of the best two-way players. He can lock down. You know, to have two guys on the same team that can lock down defenders the way those two guys can, I think that's why there was a lot of expectations of what they were gonna do in the playoffs this year. Knowing the type of players they had, and then they got like such a solid core in LA. You know, when you look at their bench and everybody that they have, I feel like they're gonna make some serious noise. I mean, everybody knows that the Lakers were on the verge of being the second top seed in the West, second most wins in the NBA, right under Milwaukee. But I feel like, for me, I didn't feel like they were gonna be able to get past the Clippers. That's my opinion. I thought once they got to the playoffs, I thought the Clippers would have it on. And that's my opinion. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I feel like Kawhi would make sure that they got past the Lakers.
I mean, that's what he did last year in the playoffs against Giannis. Everyone was writing them off in that series against the Bucks.
Exactly.
In Toronto. But I think this year, everyone knows, or everyone knew, it would have been LA and LA.
Yeah.
It would have been an LA series.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I think if it was the LA versus LA in the Western Conference Finals, I would have thought that would have been more of a finals preview that we would never get to see.
Really? You don't think the Bucks are at that level?
You know what? The Bucks still gotta prove it. I mean, I feel like the Bucks still gotta prove it, even though they got arguably the best player in the world right now with Giannis. I still feel like they gotta prove it.
After last year.
Yeah, like they might have the best record in the association right now, in the NBA. Yeah, they might have the best record in the NBA right now. But we all remember 73-9. I hate to say that because I love that Golden State team that year, and I felt like they was gypped out of that one. But they were 73-9. Best record in the league, and they still never win the championship, right?
So you think they gotta win a championship to prove it?
Well, I think they gotta make it to the finals. You know.
And then they gotta compete with whichever LA team wins.
Yeah, and then now you're talking some serious business, because to go up against either Kawhi and Paul George or LeBron and AD, that's a serious challenge, right? But now you gotta look at like age, and you gotta look at injuries and stuff like that. I think, and that's a big why there's been a lot of load management. You know, back in the day, though, guys like Michael Jordan and all that played like 82 games. I think John Stockton never missed one game his entire career. His entire career, he never missed one game. That's how much these guys were that's how serious they were about playing the game. So it was kind of interesting. It's very interesting to see some of these guys doing load management and stuff like that. You know? But of course, I think back then careers were shorter too. Like plenty of them would retire by like 13, 14, maybe 15 at the most. Some of these kids right now, some of these guys have been playing 17, 16, 17, 18 years or whatever. Some of them even 20 years still playing. So I can understand why they do load management. All right, that's a good pick at 3. Okay, so let's go on to our number 2.
My number 2 is Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant.
Someone forgot about it.
He didn't play all season.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even thinking about him at all.
Yeah, he's a small forward.
Yeah.
And he is the best scorer in the league right now.
Sorry about that, Kevin.
Oh, I know who your top 2 are.
Yeah.
So Kevin Durant is the best scorer. I don't think anyone can argue with that. The way he can dribble the ball, get to the hoop anytime he wants. He's 7 feet tall,
Yeah.
with handles like that, pretty good.
Yeah.
And he can just dunk on anyone. He can shoot from anywhere on the court. You know, just 35 feet out. He can do that too. But it's just crazy how good of a scorer he is, and he's also a pretty good defender. I think some of those years with Golden State, he averaged 2 blocks a game or something. Pretty good on the.
He's so
defense.
long too. Like he's so long. Like that's how come he can get block shots so well.
But he's so like agile and
Yeah.
he can move pretty well. So it's so cool to see.
Well, KD, I'm sorry, bro, cause you didn't play all season. I wasn't even thinking of you, and that's my bad right there. You definitely would be on my list if I had even thought about the people who wasn't playing this year, like throughout the season. Because I didn't see him play, I wasn't even thinking about it.
Imagine if he didn't play with the Nets this season though, with Kyrie.
It would be interesting to see how he would mesh.
Get a lot of people saying that they would be the 2nd seed in the East, and I have a hard time disagreeing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they come along. I think KD wants to prove something, that he's more than just a jump on a bandwagon type of player. You know, because so many people thought that he's not a leader. He just jumped in with a team that was already kind of set or whatever the case may be, which I feel was unfair for him. I think that was unfair for them to do that to him. I've seen it in the past where guys go and play with other players and move around. And so I think it's unfair that they did that to him and gave him that stigma.
But it's the same reason you go play with the same guys at the park every day. You like to play with them.
Yeah.
It's just how it goes, you know.
Exactly.
And the fact that players have that freedom now is pretty cool for that.
Yeah. I think it was smart though for them to have to be able to negotiate where a lot of the control is in their hands, because they're the ones that's making the money for the team, so it makes a lot of sense. I would have loved to have seen him stay in OKC though, to see where him and Westbrook, if they could have worked everything out, and to see where they could have taken the Thunder, because you know, they got to Game 7 this season before he left. Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals against Golden State. So it's not like they didn't have a chance. I think they might have had the chance to possibly beat them the following year, maybe. You never know.
Because they wouldn't have had Kevin Durant.
Yeah, you know, so, you know, but it is what it is. And for them, I'm happy that they have the opportunity to negotiate and make sure that they're happy where they want to be, and then to get paid what they deserve to get paid. Because I know that a lot of these NBA teams, a lot of these franchises are making billions and billions of dollars off of these players, through revenue, through ticket sales, through television contracts, through all of the memorabilia that's sold, all of the merch, you know, all of these stuff. So I'm glad to see that they're getting their just due, so to speak. I think they have so much more control now.
Yeah, that's the big difference.
Yeah, because I think they tried in the past. There's guys that tried to do it. You figure Michael Jordan didn't get paid $25 million until his like last 3 or 4 seasons of his career.
And on the documentary, we just learned that Scotty only got paid $18 million.
Yeah.
Like, the whole time he was with the Bulls. Total.
Yeah.
Only
And that's-
18 million.
And you got guys who's only been in the league 2 years that are getting paid like, I don't know, 3-4 million a year, and he was getting paid like less than that when he first came into the league. So it's interesting to see. Of course, he eventually got his money, which is nice for him. All right. Well, my number 2 is LeBron James.
No, it's not.
My number 2 is LeBron
You're
James.
so lying.
No, it is.
Okay, whatever.
My number 2 is LeBron James. I have it right here. It's LeBron James is my number 2.
Oh, what the heck?
LeBron James is my number 2. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I know a lot of people will be like, dude, you stupid. But you know what? The reason why I have him at my number 2 is because, I mean, it's hard for, I know people will be like, dude, you're stupid. You know? But I got him at my number 2 because I feel like my number 1 is a better, I feel like he's a better small forward. Now granted, LeBron is 35 years old and he's wrecking shop. Like he's just like killing things right now at his age. And he brings so much to the table. Of course, we all know he's a point forward. We know he can score. That's not his main objective. A lot of times he's trying to make other guys better, which I think is a positive. He's a good defender too. You know, I think he has a lot to bring to the table. But my number 1, I feel like my number 1 overall deserves to be my number 1.
I'll accept your argument right now if you say that he's your number 2 only because he plays more like a point guard.
Yeah, that's kind of
That's what I'm getting from you.
Yeah, that's kind of why, like, he's more like my Magic Johnson. That's why.
Okay.
Even though he is a point forward and he plays the small forward position, he can actually play power forward because he's so big and strong, right? But his main purpose is to lead the team, right? And like I said, I know there's gonna be a lot of haters saying that I'm stupid or whatever the case may be. But and he's arguably the best player in the league, you know. But there's a lot of guys that are far away from him and might actually be at the same level as him, right? You look at guys like Giannis. You look at my number 1. Like, these guys are like right there with him. My number 1 was MVP of the finals. 2 different teams, you know. My number 1 won some championships too, you know. His resume isn't short, you know. He's been an all-star multiple times, you know. So
That's why I can kind of understand what you're saying, just because at the start of what your argument you said you're number 1. You already know who it is.
yeah,
You said he's a better small forward.
yeah,
So the fact that you kind of see LeBron as more of a point guard, you know, it's kind of acceptable to me.
Yeah.
He's not the top small forward on your list.
yeah. Exactly.
But of course he would be number 2 if
Yeah.
anything,
Yes.
because of how amazing he is as a player
Yeah.
on both sides of the court.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I mean? It's just my opinion. Not to say that, like I said, he's phenomenal. He's a great player. I didn't like it when he was with Miami because they beat up on the Celtics. So, you know, that doesn't help. But you know, no doubt. Like, but nobody should ever compare him to Michael Jordan. I'm sorry.
Don't start that debate.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That can be another video.
Yeah,
Never
we
know.
could do that. We could do that later. Talk about that later. But anyways, yep. My number 2, LeBron James.
Number 1 is LeBron James.
Okay. I should have known that.
Well, yeah, but like, I said it all already. He's the best player in the NBA right now. Giannis is coming for him though. Kawhi's up there too, but to me, he's still the best player in the NBA right now. He's doing a lot for the Lakers this year, and he's amazing.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think like we was talking about LeBron. You know, like you look at the pieces that he has in LA right now. He has a lot of good stuff surrounding him. So the possibilities are there. The one thing that I'm always worried about when it comes to his surrounding people is I always worry about injuries for him with his supporting cast. And we all know like AD's been injured quite a bit during his time in the NBA. Not to say that he's gonna get injured, but if he plays correctly, he should be fine. But we all know, like I think everybody knows, if AD gets hurt, they will not go to the finals. There is no way they will go to the final. I guarantee that. I guarantee they will not make it to the finals if AD gets hurt.
I think LeBron can carry them through the Western Conference Finals, but I don't know if just him can handle
Kawhi,
those guys
on the court. Yeah. Or even like you look at one of the teams that like people are sleeping on. I feel like they're sleeping on right now, and I know I'm getting away from my number one, but you guys know who it is. But people are sleeping on the Mavericks.
They're the 7th seed this year.
Yeah, they're totally. And you know the thing I think people were sleeping on because when Porzingis came back, he wasn't really gelling or didn't look like he was in playing for condition and stuff like that. But in the past few weeks or a month or so before the season got cut, Porzingis was starting to pour it on, and him and Luka started to really gel and play well together. That can be a serious 1-2 punch. Because when you have a point forward like Luka who can do what he can do, and you have a center who can do what Porzingis can do, that's a lethal duo right there. I mean, you look at, of course, Shaq was unstoppable, but he was a big center with Kobe. When Shaq and Kobe was together, when you have a slasher like Kobe, you have Luka, which is a very similar type of player. He's not as good as Kobe was, but a very similar type of player. The way he plays, the way he can score when he needs to score, the way he knows how to use the ball and pass the ball and use his other players around him. If we add Porzingis to the picture, I think they could end up being a really, really big problem for some people in the Western Conference.
You know, I just realized Luka and Porzingis are very alike to LeBron and AD.
Yeah.
Except Porzingis shoots a couple more threes than AD, I think.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't realize that until now how similar they are.
Yeah. And if Porzingis stays healthy, because we know he was like making serious noise up there in New York by himself, pretty much, right? And now you got him with a number 2 guy or number 1. I don't know what you want to call Doncic, but you get him with somebody who can really play now. An up and coming rising star like Luka. It's gonna only make Porzingis that much better.
Just wait until they're a couple years in, couple more years in,
playing together, gelling, and all of the guys around them, all of these role players that they're gonna have, because they're gonna constantly be shuffling the role players to fit in with them, with the two of them. They're gonna end up making some noise in the West. I feel like they're gonna end up making some noise in the West. All right, well. Your number 1 was LeBron, and of course my number 1 is Kawhi Leonard. And people will wonder why I put Kawhi Leonard in there as my number 1. But Kawhi has proven that he can take over a game at any time. He's proven that he will not choke. He will take the last shot, knock it down, and take you to the NBA Finals. Like, he's proven that he can do it, and he's proven it from when he was with the Spurs, maybe 1 or 2 years into his NBA career. He's proven it back then. He's proven to be one of the best defenders to ever play the game, and now he's proven he can score on anybody at any time on any part of the floor. Doesn't matter where you try to guard him. He can break you down and drive on you. He can take you down on the block, and he can post you up. He has a nice little fader. Probably not the number 1 guy I've seen that uses the mid-range shot all the time, and he can knock down threes. That's why I feel like he's above LeBron in that sense. But like we said, small forward though, right? Because if you look at overall package of what they bring to the table, I think LeBron brings up a passer's mentality to the table, but that, to me, that puts him in a different category, and that's just my opinion.
You know, I think you were right when you gave him the Magic Johnson comparison. That's like the obvious comparison, right?
Yeah.
That's just that's totally the way he plays. It's so similar.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, that's why I got LeBron at 2 and Kawhi at number 1. But that's our top 5 small forwards or point forwards as some might want to call them of
Some
the
of them.
yeah, some of them, yeah. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed our list.
Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video with a friend, you know.
It's and be sure to tune in next time for our next episode, which will be power forwards.
Pretty sure they could have guessed that.
Yeah, you think so? Well, I don't know. We'll see though. But we'll see you next time